Okay, hello everyone and welcome to this special live stream this weekend on my channel Joshua757. Today we are going to be flying the Airbus A310. In my opinion, this aircraft is the true baby bus, okay? Some say it's the A318 is the baby bus, and I agree with them. But to me, it's the A310 because despite being a wide-bodied aircraft, it's actually very short and stubby. Today we're going to do Zero-G, okay? So although the livery is the stock livery of Airbus, the real aircraft is an A310 and it has registration Foxtrot W-N-O-V, okay? The Phoenix alphabet is not coming to my head right now. Okay, so the aircraft is 37.1 years old. It was manufactured in 1989, taken over by the current company that uses it in 2014. And today we're going to do Zero-G. Now you might ask, how do we do that? And I prepared a mission profile, which I'm going to show you now. Other than that, you know me by now, I don't do videos that are just standard A to B. I like to make them interesting, spice them up, and at the same time provide a great learning experience to you guys. I will be following real FCOM procedures to start up this A310, so you're in good hands. You're going to know exactly how to fly this aircraft according to real procedures, okay? Not just the procedures from the EFB, you know, the one over here. No, we're talking about real procedures. I'm going to be using real FCOM procedures, so you know exactly what you're doing. And we're going to do it a bit fast because I want to get in the air and do the Zero-G. So let's dive straight into the mission profile, which I made for you guys over here. See, here is the mission profile. I made this just a few hours ago, and it looks pretty interesting, and it is. So there's a couple of phases, okay? So there's phase 1, stable level flight at 1G. That's pretty much like your normal flight. Then after that, it's going to be at 20,000 feet, and the speed prior to pull-up is going to be about 456 knots. Hello everyone, welcome to the chat. Couple more messages dropping in. Then what we're going to do is we're going to slowly pull ourselves up to 50 degrees over here, and the passengers on board will experience 1.8 Gs, okay? So they're going to be pushed into their seats and they're going to feel 1.8 times heavier than normal. So after that, we're going to rise to about 25,000 feet, and that's when we'll start doing the pushover. This is called the injection altitude. The injection speed at this point should be about 376 knots. And at the top of the parabola, we're going to be at about 28,000 feet. This is where I'm going to retard power, and we're going to slowly push ourselves over to Zero-G. And the speed at the top of the parabola should be about 209 knots. And then we're slowly going to push ourselves down to 42 degrees, nose down, okay? So this is going to be exciting. And then finally, the pull-out, the passengers again will get strapped back to the floor. They'll feel 1.8 times heavier than their normal body weight. And then we'll slowly pull out and end the parabola. And I plan to do quite a few of these, okay? So this is going to be very interesting indeed. So getting back into the sim, what else I wanted to discuss? Slipped my mind. So let's get ourselves started right away. So I've got a sim brief flight plan. Oh yes, one more additional bonus is we're going to learn how to program custom waypoints, because we're going to be flying over the sea. It just feels like the right thing to do, you know, when you're doing the Zero-G kind of stuff. So we're going to fly over the sea, so I'm going to show you how to add in new waypoints, you know, which are not in the directory, how to make your own. Right, so coming over here to the EFB, we're going to activate the cold and dark. So let's do that now. Confirm it. And yeah, now we're going to, let's see, it's cold and dark is done. Ensure the GPU is selected. Let's get the weight and balance also done. So get that out of the way. So come over here. Actually, let's ensure we are in metric. Okay, it's currently in imperial units. So let us change that over. Right. That's all well and done. So coming over here, passengers it shouldn't be too many actually. I know there's about 3 captains, 4 cabin crew, so that's 7 plus maybe 10 more passengers. Let's make it 20, okay? Another thing is, in the Airbus, because the engines are on the wing, in the cockpit, there's actually a third person to monitor the thrust, okay? Because any asymmetries can actually cause a lot of issues in terms of side slip and can completely ruin the Zero-G experience. Okay, so that's out of the way. And cargo on board, let us see how much that should be. Let's add in about... How many tons should we add? Let's add about 3 tons of cargo and fuel. Let's add about... Let's say 15,000. So 15 tons. There we go. Let's apply this to the aircraft. Okay, quite a forward CFG we've got. And yeah, let's start the aircraft up according to real procedures. Just answering a couple of messages in the chat. Who's that kid in the first officer's seat? Yeah, I've been trying to avoid him. He is here. And I don't want him here, to be honest. I cannot find a way to deactivate him in the EFB. Maybe there's a way, but I don't want to try anything now. But he's stealing my thunder, okay? He shouldn't be there. This is my live stream. If, you know, if he wants to have a place here, he has to do his own YouTube channel. Anyway, so let us get started right away. So the first thing is the exterior inspection, which we're not going to do too much about. So the exterior safety check is pitot covers are like removed, flaps and slat position is checked, gear doors are closed. Then we go back to the interior safety check, and let's see, hydraulic panel is checked. Electric pump on, lights are extinguished. Of course, there's no battery power. Let's get that on first. We can check our battery volts over here. No, sorry, this one. These gauges are actually very similar to those on the Concorde. But this is not working actually at the moment. So we'll just assume our battery volts is within range and let's turn them on. Observe the flow bars have illuminated. And yeah, what did it say? Hydraulic panel, electric pump on, lights, these ones, they're off, extinguished. Wiper switches, these two over here, they're off. Yeah, let him sit at the wing. I'll have to do that. Maybe the Zero-G will show him where he really belongs. Okay, so the wiper levers, I mean, they're off. Gear lever is down, that's pretty obvious. Flaps and slats are retracted in agreement with what we saw on the outside. Fuel levers cut off. Aircraft log, we don't have one, but it's reviewed. And radar is also off over here. See, there's system 1 and system 2, but right now it's off. Okay, so now let's establish electrical power. AC driven power, that is. We already have our external power card connected, so notice the available light, so let's avail of it. There we go. External power is now connected to the aircraft, and just let me know if you can hear me okay, you know, otherwise I'll just reduce the desktop volume a little bit, because there's quite a bit of whirring now in the cockpit. External powers come on. So external power avail light has extinguished and it's been replaced by on, and the on light illuminates. The battery switches then auto. Notice the flow bars have actually gone off. because with external power connected, the transformer rectifiers normally provide DC power for the DC bus system. Okay, check all bus light off as extinguished. Yep. And okay, coming over here, no smoking should be set to auto according to this FCOM. Seatbelt signs on. IRS mode selectors should be set to nav, so let's do that now. Nav on 1, 2 and 3. Notice the battery operated light illuminates, and that is one of the items in the FCOM, and they're all in align mode. Okay, so let's come over to the parking brakes also set. We don't want to mess up our alignment. Let's come over to the FMC. It's prompting us to align IRS, so let's do that now. Let's also clear all these other stuff. There we go. Let's go to the flight plan init page and let's enter in the from and to. So we are at airport Lima Foxtrot Bravo Delta. So Lima Foxtrot, can't type these days. There we go. And we're circling over the sea and we're coming back to the same place. So LFBD. Okay, it's the same airport. So let's add that in. Return and now align IRS. So press that. And let's also just fill in the first page, okay? Let's put in the alternate airport. So there we go. Smash that in. Return. And flight ID, let's just say, let's say, I don't know. Just think of something. Let's say 0G. There we go. Slam that in. And our altitude should be 20,000 feet. So flight level 200. Cost index, let's view the PDF, see what it is. Cost index, where is it? We don't actually, there we go, 120. Okay, so let's add that in, 120. And there we go. So that's the flight plan init page pretty much sorted out. And yeah, let's leave it at that. So continuing on with the flows. Okay, it's coming back to the overhead. Let me just check the chat in case anything's there. Nope, all good. So yeah, overhead flows is we set it to nav. The is-do switch, IRS display unit switch is on, and I like to display the status, okay, to show the alignment. Anyway, so that's all good. Oxygen low pressure supply over here, turn that on. And ACARs, we're not going to do all that today. Circuit breakers are checked. They're not modeled, but in the real aircraft you would check. They're pushed in. Maintenance panel, it's, hang on. Yeah, there's all additional stuff that you would check that is actually on board the aircraft. Emergency equipment, crash acts, all that we're not going to check now. Rack deployment handles over here are stowed, okay? The A310 actually has a rack deployment handle over here, which is quite interesting, so make sure that's stowed. And yeah, now proceeding on with the flows. Oh, wow, 737 flew over your house. It must be loud. Wow, incredible. And quite a good experience, I'm sure. So we're going to go over the captain's flows. The captain actually has quite a lot of duties on this aircraft, and the first officer quite few actually, which is quite interesting. We'll start from a bottoms up approach, and notice in the Boeings you go top down, but in the Airbus they want you to go down up. So that's how we're going to do it, okay? So, right. Before we even start with the overhead panel, we're going to do the annunciator light test. And there should be a wind shear alert as well. Notice all the lights are on. if there's any lights that fail to illuminate, push them in and out to reset them. If they still don't come on, then yeah, you got to replace it. Notice over here the fuel quantity indicators are showing all 8s. You know, these digital 8s. How, you know, in like your calculators, you get them like those. Similarly, over here, we should see the gear handles on. In fact, even the thrust rating panel should show digital 8s, okay? And this is in accordance with the real aircraft. It should be like this, okay? So, actually, any builds has not modeled this, sadly, but it should show all 8s, okay? And checking out the rest of the FCOM, it should, let's see, fuel quantity panel, yep, we've checked that. EFIS, it should all show 8s, even the comm radios and all that. So a couple of things are not really modeled here that well, but also notice wind shear on the primary flight display. That's how it should work, and let us clear the test. Okay, so that's the annunciator light test done. Hydraulic quantity is next, so we're coming over to the overhead panel, working ourselves up. Hydraulic quantity is checked. Low pressure lights are on. When the engines spool up, these will automatically go out. Servo control panel lights are illuminated. These actually control which of the hydraulics powers the flight controls. On older Airbuses, they are like massive sliding items, but anyway. So speed brake and spoiler lights, they should be illuminated like so, and a flight recorder should now go on. And yeah, right, coming over here to the lights panel over here, let us see, the nose lights, they should be off. Landing light should be retracted, wing lights off like so. Strobe switch should go to auto. Nav and logo should go to 1, and we'll keep the beacon off for now. Runway turn off lights off. Coming over here, pitch trims should be turned on. Auto throttles we can turn on. Hello, how's it going, Phil? Hope you've had a good Friday and settling in for the weekend. And yaw dampers, there's a couple of considerations about this. The yaw dampers should not be engaged until the IRS align mode lights have extinguished, sorry. So I'm going to keep these off for the time being. And also another consideration is, once you've latched these on, don't change your power source for 5 minutes, okay? So if you're in external power, remain in external power for another 5 minutes, okay? Don't change your thing. Okay, galley power, let's turn that on. And coming up, electrical power, IDG disconnect lights, I mean, they're off. And safe tide, like so. Gen 1 and Gen 2 fault lights, they should be illuminated and like so. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Coming over here, the battery switches, the flow bars are not activated, that's good. Battery override is guarded. Let's do our fire loop test. So hold it down, it cycles itself to loop A, loop B, and then the fire warning. If you come over to the eCam, you can see what's going on. First loop A fault, then loop B, and then it triggers off the thing. So let's do that for the APU as well. Then you get the APU fire warning, so that's a successful test. And then finally we'll do it for engine number 2 as well. Nice Lego, that's pretty good. I actually haven't used Lego since I was a kid, you know. I don't know if it's a grown-up thing or not, but there's the Lego Concorde, isn't there? Anyway, so we've done our loop tests and we've checked the ECAM. We can also ensure that the AC and DC selectors are set to emergency and essential. And yeah, now coming back down, doing our down-up approach. Right, ignition is off, and the fueling, if it's in process, there's a couple of considerations with regards to that. And now that refueling is done, we can, yep, we've already got our fuel on the aircraft. We can now turn all the tank pumps on. It's a pretty automated system, so let's turn them on. We have center pumps, we also have trim tank pumps, and we'll go over this a little bit if we have time. The cross feeds, they should be cross line, like so. Isolation valves, the flow bars should be illuminated, and yeah, that's pretty much the thing. Okay, no worries, Victor, and have a good night. And the live replay is always there later on as well, so you won't be missing anything. Okay, so we can also check the ECAM for proper distribution, so you can come over to the fuel page, like so. We don't actually have any fuel in the center tanks today. Trim tanks also. Actually, let's add a little bit, I want to add some fuel, okay? So let's make this more and see what happens. So you still don't have any in the center tank. I was thinking of doing a little bit of a trim demonstration for you guys, so that's why. I was wanting to add some fuel in, but maybe it's not worthwhile to add so much fuel in. Anyway, so yeah, so I don't think it's worthwhile to add that much fuel, because it needs to be quite light anyway, so let's forget about that. I was thinking of doing maybe a bit of aft trim transfer and that kind of stuff, but never mind. And yes, never mind all that. So coming over here, cabin pressurization is in the auto position, manual light is out, and yeah, the differential should show approximately 0. It does. Rate limit is set to norm. And yeah, coming over here, window heats, let's turn them on. Probe heats as well. Yeah, as Victor says, Phil, don't let the Legos go to waste, okay? Just keep at it, okay? Okay, so window heats, probe heats are on, like so. Already done our checks. Coming over here, emergency lights, arm those, like so. And yeah, APU bleed. Actually, let's get the APU fired up, okay? It takes quite some time on this aircraft. So master power switch on, APU start, and we'll turn the ECAM to APU and we'll monitor this. It does take a bit of time, so it's a good thing we're getting this going now. And yeah, select econ flow, it says, and for the time being, bleed should be cross line for now. When the APU bleed turns on, it will close. And hot air supply valves, they should be reset, like so. Cockpit temperatures and auto, and yeah, that's pretty much it. We're all good. Manual override light should be safe tied. Ram air is off, we don't need it. Coming over now to the glare shield, like so. Let's adjust our lighting as needed, so we can dial up PFD, the navigation display, CRTs. Flight directors are on both sides, like so. So set decision height to -5 on both sides and blank them out, like so. And navigation display test we need to do, so rotate the selector to test. Let's do that on both sides. There should be a check ATT alert on the navigation display, which is there. And there should also be an ECAM warning, which isn't showing, so yeah. So let's set that back to normal map mode, like so. And yeah, heading select outer switch is set to norm. We're not going to do the oxygen test today. Standby airspeed indicator. Yep. And RMI, no flags. There's no flags on the instruments. And navigation display is normal. Also it says yeah, so it's just basically checking the instruments, no flags, standby horizon, ensure that's all caged, no flags, and so on. Brake pressure we can check, so select this to alternate and on, and then press your brakes down all the way. So we're going to do that now, and the pressure should rise to a certain amount, between 2000 to 2700 psi, but the feature doesn't seem to be modeled anyway. So that's the check you would do. And parking brake, ensure parking brake pressure is within green band. If we want to increase our parking brake, we can press this brake pressure accumulation and press and hold it. It's an electric pump. Anyway, so that's all done. Engine instruments are checked, no flags. The thrust rating panel is set to toga. Landing elevation today is, hang on a second, 161 feet. So let's add that in. So let's add in 200 feet. There we go. Gear warning test. Let's do that. Pull checks out. And brake fans as required. I like to turn them on just before taxiing. Speed brake handle is retracted. Takeoff warning. Let us now check the takeoff warning. A couple of questions in the chat. The Bluebird 757 is in beta testing. Yeah, they are actually, but they said like they'll come out in Q3 of this year, which might be like September or something. I'm not sure. It says takeoff warning, okay, so advance throttle number 1, so it's a mechanical stop. And the master warning, ECAM should light up, like so. Retard it back to idle. And clear the ECAM, and then do it with throttle number 2 as well. Okay, that checks out. Fuel levers are set to cut off already. And ATC transponder, let's set that now to TARA, because I'm definitely going to forget. Rudder trim and aileron trim set to 0, which is all good. And this radar we have, it has a test functionality, so we can try that out if I remember exactly what I'm doing. It should be, actually I don't know, I've never done this test before, so anyway, so now let us do the FMS. Okay, so coming over here, let's set up our stuff. So let's go to the next page now and get in all our weights, our fuel. So block fuel today is, let's see. Actually, let's bring this down a bit. Okay, so apply it. There you go. So the fuel is 19.5. So let's add that in. 19.5. Oops. Zero fuel weight is divided by 1084.6. Like so. It's already populated some stuff. And zero fuel weight CG. Let's see where we can get that from. Actually, I don't know where to get zero fuel weight CG from. So yeah, that's gonna be a bit of an issue. Let me just add in the C of G instead. Something unfortunately don't have at hand. 24. So let's put that there. Okay, so the init page is done. Like so. And yeah, let's now go to the flight plan. Okay, so we're gonna take off from runway 11. So let's add in the standard departure, runway 11. The SID is this one. Insert it on the Airbus. This Airbus one, you have to insert it. A bit like the MD-11. Then after that, we're gonna go to our first custom waypoint, okay? So let me bring up my notepad for a second. I already added in that waypoint. Where is it? There we go. So this one, so the first waypoint I'm going to go to is my own custom waypoint, which I have made for myself. So I'm going to show you now how to actually do custom waypoints, okay? So you have to go to the reference page, then you have to go next page, then go to your waypoints. So I've already defined it over here actually, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's do it again. So I'm going to delete all. So now here's where we can make our new waypoint. So let's add in an ident to this waypoint, and let's choose a name that no one has done before. So let's put Josh 757. So I'm naming this waypoint after myself. And okay, didn't accept it. Okay, so let's just give it a name like so, and now we can put in the latitudes and longitudes, and it should be in this format I'm going to show you now. So 4260 north, actually 0.5. There should be a decimal in it as well. And there we go, like this. So 4260.5 north slash 00340.2 west. So smash that in like so and press store. Okay, so now we've stored this waypoint, and you can add more waypoints, but I'm not going to do that now. This one waypoint is sufficient. It takes us over the sea, and yeah, it's a pretty good one. Actually, I've added it in totally wrong. Let's start again. So I'm gonna give my waypoints an ident, and then latitude and longitude. So 4620 decimal 5 north and 00340.2 west. There we go, smash that in. And then press store. Okay, so there we go, we stored it and now we can use it. So coming over here, adding it in, let's add in our custom waypoint like so. For some reason it doesn't actually allow you to add one unless you put in a new one, so that's the issue. And strangely enough, yesterday it was working and now suddenly it's acting pricey. Don't know why that's the case. Let's just enter again. Store that, and then coming over to the flight plan, enter it in. Ah, there we go. It's the second one. It somehow is another one in the database. Not sure why that's the case. There we go. All sorted out. So we've added in our custom waypoint. So that's a relief. And after that, we're gonna go direct to CNA, which is another waypoint. There we go. Oops, it's actually put in the wrong place. So there we go. Clear this flight plan discontinuity. CNA. There we go. It's all in the correct order now. And now we're going to set up our arrival. So star ILS 23. The start is CNA to L, like so. Insert. There we go. There we go. So we've sorted ourselves out now. So taking off from runway 11, following the SID up to Royan, then our first waypoint, our custom waypoint, clear the discontinuity, then yeah, going to CNA, then following this star, and then landing at our airport. Okay, so it all checks out. We can also check it on the map if we wanted to. Let's actually customize our map a little bit, add in constraints, and yeah, let's go to plan mode like so, and we can check all these out. So go to our first waypoint and then we make ourselves back after doing some exciting Zero-G. Okay, so let's put it back to the map mode like so, and let us now press on with the rest of our... Actually, let's just do the FMC now, so get that out of the way. So we've done the init page, we've explored how to create your own custom waypoints, and let's do the takeoff and approach now. So we've got a couple of options here, thrust reduction, altitudes, and so on. Let's say our thrust reduction altitude, for the sake of argument, is 1500 feet, and same as the acceleration as well. And in reality, you'd have to check with your airports, and those are two regulations to see which one, what it comes under. Anyway, so now let us calculate our speeds. So we have to come over to the EFB to do that. Runway length, I believe, is about 8,000 feet. I don't know what that is in meters. Let me just Google it quickly. 2438 meters. Okay, so 2438. Surface is dry. Runway heading is... Let me check actually. Decide a flight. I like the Icelandic one. I mean the Icelandic one. I don't know why. It's just, I don't know, somehow strikes out to me. So I would say option number 1. Okay, so runway heading is 105. Oh, it already knows it over here. So smash that in. The wind, I think, it's already got all this information. And yeah, this seems to be strange. It should be like 1013 or something. There we go. The weight is... What's our weight today? We have to go back to the init page. Next page. Takeoff gross weight 103.7 tons. So let's put 104 tons. Flaps 1515. I don't recommend taking off with only slats, anti-ice off, air conditioning on. And let's calculate this. Okay, so it wants us to do a flex of 59 degrees. So let's do that. Flex temperature and dial this up to 59. And there we go, our target N1 96.7. Coming over here, V1 134, rotate 136. So let's add those in to the takeoff and approach. 134, 136. And the V2 we need to dial straight into the FCU, 150. So let's add that straight in. Okay, so we've added in our V2 and it should now show over here. Yep. So that's the takeoff done. And yeah, let's go back to flight plan. So as far as I'm concerned, that's the FMC all done. So let's carry on with the flows. So we've done weight and balance, we've done all that stuff. The first officer does exterior inspection, cabin inspection, and his side of the panel over here. And yeah, then let's move on. Okay, final cabin prep. Yeah, we're not going to do all that. And we've verified pretty much all that we can. We've done the takeoff performance, the flaps and so on, takeoff briefing as well. We've already done our Zero-G briefing at the start of the stream. Okay, so before start checks, fuel quantity distribution is checked. Oh, there we go, the APU is on. So let's turn APU gen is on, as seen over here. We can release the external power and let's disconnect the APU from the EFB as well. So come over here, GPU is off. Let's get the APU bleed on, like so. Notice the isolation then closes, like so. IRSs are aligned. Yep, that's all checks out. Overhead panel, yep, your damper switches should now go on. And altimeters, I'll just press the B key. We'll cheat a little bit. Takeoff warning has been checked, parking brake is set, and doors, windows are closed. Let's get the beacon light on. And now it is time for the pushback. Okay, so releasing the parking brakes, and let's command for pushback, and let's start the engines. So let's try ignition A today, like so, and let's start number 2. There we go, valve open, and we're waiting for the 20%. 18%, there we go, 20%, fuel on. Just a bit confused as to why the pushback guy is not pushing us back. We've already started engine number 2. Let's try the pushback from the EFB if we want. Let's start number 1. Why is the pushback guy not moving? Okay, fuel on. Let's also arm the speed brakes. Also our autopilot modes, profile mode, nav mode should be engaged. And we verified those. Still seems like we've got the chocks in place. Or something is holding us down. Oh, and now the pushback tug is disengaged. Okay, that's strange. Just give me a sec, I'll just search for a solution. Okay, so just give me a second. I'm going to pause the live stream and I'll just fix the chalk issues and we'll reconvene back. Okay, so, right. Thank you for letting me know, Phil. So, apologies for the wait. I had to... So, I was looking at the forum, basically, the AnyBuilds forum, and it said something like it's a known issue that you can't remove it from the EFB. So, it turns out you have to go back into walk-around mode and remove it there. So, that's what I did. So, that's all set now. Right, so let's go flaps and slats 15-15 and let's do a flight control check. So there you go. And let's get the brake fans on. Brake fans, auto brakes, let's set them on. And yeah, so now we've got our stuff on. Let's also shut down the APU, so APU bleed goes off, and APU can also go off. Ignition, let's put that off, and there we go. APU master off, and now we're shutting down. So everything's pretty much checked to this point. Stabilizer trim, let's see, what did it say? Go to the weight and balance. 1.5 units up. So let's do that now. There we go. Trim is set for takeoff. And let's consult back to the FCOM. So we started engines, we shut down the APU, so on. We've called for flaps and slats and trim. Okay, let's start the taxi. So we push back and let's now taxi over to runway 11. Okay, it's parking brake release. Let's start the taxi. Let's get the nose lights on to taxi. So let's get the landing lights on now. So let's check our takeoff config test. So press and hold it. There we go, takeoff test is normal. So we're good to go. And also let's use the whole of the runway, okay? Feeling a little bit cautious, so let's go right to the end. Okay, so we're turning on to runway 11, and we can always do a little before takeoff check if needed. Flight controls have been checked, briefings confirmed, flaps and slats are in their takeoff position, takeoff config is checked, transponder has been set to TARA, TCAS packs as required, ignition as required. Okay, we're ready. Okay, so just lining up with the runway, I'm going to spool up my engines, allow them to stabilize and toga. There we go. In thrust mode. There we go. Takeoff thrust. 100 knots now. Okay, V1. Rotate. There we go. Positive rate. Gear up. Nav mode is active. Okay, coming up at 1500 feet. It's going to select us back to auto. There we go, climb thrust. And now we can accelerate to 250 knots. Flaps up. Flap retraction speed has been reached. Yeah, it's always one of the risks of flex takeoff. I didn't want to do flex takeoff, but it was suggesting I did, so I decided to. Plus, I went pretty much to the end. I wanted to use the whole of the runway. It's a good thing I didn't turn on to runway 11 sooner. Might have then ran out of space. And plus, you know me, right? I like to make things a little bit interesting. I don't like the normal, standard A to B flights. I like to make things interesting, whether it's a bit of Zero-G, a little bit of takeoff drama, a bit of landing, so on. Anyway, so crossing 5,000 feet now. And I could turn on the autopilot at any time really, but I do like to do a bit of hand flying. I can turn off the brake fans now. And the transition altitude I believe is 5,000 feet, so I can now pull this. And there we go. Standard. Really good takeoff performance. I mean, climb performance, sorry. Let's get an outside view. Let's disarm the speed brake as well. And let's get the autopilot on. There we go. Autopilot 1 is in command. Let's check our pressurization. Climbing. Let's get the landing lights off now. Retract those. Nose lights off. I tell you what, let's go direct to our first waypoint. And let's also briefly run through the after takeoff checks. Ignition as required, it's off. Flaps and slats are 0, lights out. Gear is up. And we can set it to neutral. Let's see if we can do that. There we go, neutral. Gears up, neutral. Spoilers disarmed. There we go, spoilers are disarmed. And yeah, altimeters, we've already set that. And that's the after takeoff checks to the line. Okay, there we are, approaching 20,000 feet. Shortly thereafter, we'll go into speed mode. We already have, and now we are now throttling back. The thrust rating panel has also automatically taken us to cruise. We're now on cruise thrust. And also let's get ready for some parabolas. Let me show you how you can verify your zero-G, okay? Because there's no point in just doing stuff without knowing are we actually in zero-G or not. So for that reason, I've opened up the dev mode over here, and we can go to the debug tool. We can go to aircraft and aircraft data, like so. And now we're going to change our parameters. So the first parameter I'm going to put over here is load factor, like so. And the second one, let's put maybe elevator deflection or something. Maybe something interesting. Or maybe angle of attack. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And let's adjust the colors to our liking as well. Okay, so this is how you check whether you're doing actual zero-G or not. Okay, so we're gonna keep this little graph over here as reference. And let us now start doing some parabolas. Okay, so this is where things are going to get exciting. So let us briefly discuss the procedure again. Here's the mission profile. I made this custom graphic. We're going to start at pretty much close to VMO. We're going to pull up 50 degrees, nose up, injection angle, and then at about 28,000 feet we'll retard power, slowly push over and push down to about 42 degrees, allowing for zero-G, and then we'll pull out. Okay, so that's how we're going to do it. Right, so we're already coming close to the sea also, and let us do our zero-Gs. Once we've crossed our first waypoint and we are in clear airspace, okay? So we're ready for the Zero-G. Okay, making our way to our first custom waypoint. Now we're in unrestricted airspace and we can get started. And a couple of things I'm going to do is I'm going to disengage the auto throttle system. And the reason for that is whenever you pull up too steeply, Airbus has its protections, okay? So it'll automatically advance maximum continuous, which we don't want. Okay, so I'm going to apply full power now. I'm going to select my TRP to maximum continuous and disengaging the autopilot now. I'm going to slowly pull up 50 degrees. Okay, doing the first pushover. Retard power. Okay, when Zero-G looks like. Coming close. There we go, Zero-G. Now we're negative G's. Okay, slowly pulling out now of the dive. Okay, we're overspeeding. Let's apply some speed brakes. There we go. Yeah, all indications are going crazy. So that was the first one, and let me just increase the graph so you can see a bit better. So now let us apply our thrust. We need to go back to 20,000 feet. Let's level change. Yeah, it is quite exciting to see the indications going wild. And for the second parabola, we'll do an outside view. Okay, coming up on 20,000 feet. So basically you're looking for the graph, you're looking for the pink magenta one to reach 0G. That's when you know that you've done it right. Okay, disconnecting the autopilot. Gonna slowly pull ourselves up. .50 degrees, and getting ready for the pushover. Okay, 0.2 Gs, and there we go, 0G, holding it. Went negative a little bit, going into negative Gs. There we go, now in 0G. Okay, let's gently pull out. There we go, and that was the second parabola. We are at 18,000 feet. There we go. Let's get ourselves back up to 20,000 feet. And now I think for the third parabola, we can do maybe like an observer seat view of the whole cockpit to see what's going on. I think that will be better. Yeah, they do use the Super 27 fill. That's a different company. It's forget what the name is called now. I think it's called Zero-G Experience. Yeah, it's not a very creative name. They still use that one. So you have this one and you have the Super 27. This one is the European one, and that one is what they use at Fort Lauderdale, I think. That's where its hub is. Okay, let's do the third parabola. Pitching up to 50 degrees. Okay, retarding power now and getting ready for the pushover. Okay, we're in 0.7 G. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. There we go. We are now officially 0G. Let's hold it. Holding 0G. Okay, those graphs are going wild. Okay, that was quite frightful because the stall warning came on as well, so I think the pullout was a bit too steep, and I think 0G was acquired for a bit too long as well. So maybe our starting altitude should be a bit higher. And let us go to about 25,000 feet, okay? Because in the last parabola it was quite steep, and we dropped all the way down to 12,000 feet, so I don't want to take that risk again. Let's shift the graphs back a little bit so we can view it a little bit sooner. Basically, the graphs on your right hand side is the actual what's happening instantly, and the ones on the left is like, it takes time to travel here. Okay, 25,000 feet, and let us go as close to the overspeed as possible, because the more energy we insert into the parabola, the better for us. Okay, time for the third parabola. Going to gently pull ourselves up to the 50-degree. Speed's coming down. Okay, time for the pushover. So we're already into a bit of negative G. Slightly 0.1 G now. There we go, 0 G. Hold that a bit into negative. There we go, perfect 0 G. Okay, that's the third parabola done, and kind of forgot to retard power there, but it didn't seem to affect much. And I think we'll do one last parabola before turning back. It's already prompting us. Did you want to add in a new cruise? Anyway, let's go. I think it's ready to turn us back. Yeah, we're going back to CNA. So I think there's time for one more parabola before we wind up. And let's try to get it perfect this time, okay? Okay, so let's have one more parabola. So let us open up the dev menu again and display the aircraft data. Let's get as close to VMO as possible before we do the pushover. Okay, 50 degrees, nose up. Speed's coming back. Okay, retarding thrust, ready for the pushover. Already in 0G, a little bit 0.2G, 0.18. Okay, perfect 0G. Pushing over a bit more. There we are. Push and hold. There we go, still in 0G. We have negative G now. Okay, pulling out of the dive. Okay, a bit of overspeed. Let's get some speed brakes out. Okay, we've done it. We've done 4 parabolas, and I think we've had a exciting time with the Zero-G. So let's now go ahead and land, basically. So we've already reached our top of descent and we're just making our way down. No. Okay, now slowing down to 250 knots. as we're going below 10,000 feet. Also, let's get the landing lights on. We should be at 8,000 feet for this constraint, which we are. Also, let's check our landing performance. So, approach speed. So let's see, should we land at flaps 2020 or 3040? Is the question. So let's land at 3040. Already got the GPWS set to 3040. And yeah, got our final approach speed. And let's set up the ILS frequency is 110.30. So let's do that now. And the course is 224. And let's set our map mode to ILS as well. Thank you, Phil, for the compliment. The Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 has improved a lot. Only thing is, I did dial down the water a little bit so that it wouldn't cause, you know, excessive stuttering for my live stream. It could just be that. But the view is so good. Okay, the magenta is coming. Getting ready for glide slope capture. Really have to appreciate these days how realistic flight sim has become. I mean, those views are spectacular. You wouldn't have ever imagined that back in the day. We're getting ready for glide slope capture. There we go, automatically dropping down for glide slope capture. And let's disconnect the autopilot now. I want to do this myself. Just disconnecting the auto throttle.
300. Sync rate. Sync rate. 200. $100. 50. 40.
Okay, retard.
30. 20. 10. 5.
Okay, we're down. Okay, reverser unlock. Okay, and there we go, we're down. Successfully landed. Okay, I think that was a successful landing, quite on center as well, quite smooth. And let's turn off now. So we're vacating the runway, we can get the APU started up. Okay, let's stop here and put the parking brakes on. And now let us shut down. So the APU is... got to check. The APU is pulling up. And let us shut down one engine. Let's get the APU bleed on as well. Can shut down our second engine as well. Also, we need to get our MSUs. We'll turn them off. Let's get pitch trims, yaw dampers off. Let's retract the landing lights. And this beacon, the strobe as well. Let's get the fasten seatbelt signs, no smoking off. And we can even shut off our tanks except the left hand side inner pump, which supplies the APU. There we go, and I think we can get ready to disembark the passengers. So let's go to the aircraft. And open all the doors, I think. There we go, let's open up everything and a climb out, a bit of parabola fun to the point it may have became a bit dangerous on the second parabola, and then we successfully landed back. And hope you enjoyed the stream and learned something, and also we learned how to program custom waypoints into the FMC. So hope you had a good time today, and wish you a good weekend, and see you shortly on my channel Joshua757. If you liked my content, please smash that like button and subscribe, and stay tuned for more exciting and unique content. Okay then, see you later. And thank you for everyone who's joined.